question. So the topic is Human Development Index and Sustainable Development Goals. So we were thinking that to address this issue, we will start with the classical problem of chicken and egg problem. So, what came first, chicken or the egg? What is the answer of this question? And suppose somebody asks you that what came first, what would be your answer? Egg might be. Yes. Egg. But how can it come without chicken?
Well, there is the theory of evolution. Some egg from something.
So probably it will definitely give a questionable premise to the species issue. Okay. So you see, the paradoxes are in such a nature. And the most beautiful part about the paradoxes is that you can use it anywhere. Okay. So in case of human development and sustainable development, relying on chicken and egg problem will have one answer. And this answer is valid for the chicken and egg problem too. Which is, suppose we draw a circle. Okay, this is a circle. Just consider, hypothetically this is a circle. So, just when you conjure up an image of a circle, you know that it has no beginning.
No end as well.
And no end as well. Isn't it? So saying human development, understanding about the human development and sustainable development, we will realize that more or less they are talking about the same. One can influence each other, but largely the issue in this case is largely they will be same. So the human development perspective and sustainable development perspectives can only be answered by the assumption that a circle has no beginning. Isn't it? But in our case, this circle has a particular beginning, which was, say suppose, in this case, the beginning was, say suppose this is a point and we started drawing circle from here, and for this moment we consider this point was GDP. So there was a mad rush in the post-war era, post-World War II era, to increase the GDP of every country. And you will be surprised to know that at that time, GDP of Africa was very high. At that time. And GDP of Latin America was also very high. So there was this mad rush of increasing the GDP of a country. In this case, the GDP was only limited with the aspect of economic growth for a nation. Why GDP of Africa and Latin America was high? Because of, resource exploitation by the imperial countries who control the resources of Africa. The opening up of the borders, the opening of the trade, particularly in Africa and Latin America, created many problems. The problems which are existing still now.
So how come it's led to the GDP, high GDP?
Say suppose if you are exploiting the resources, if you are mining without any limit, what could be the consequences? What can be the consequences and what would have been the consequences? For example, We all know about iPhones. It is a symbol of being in a niche class, apart from the utility it is serving. This is coming for 55,000 also, but some people buy it for 6 crore also. Okay, though particularly diamond wala, jo Nita Ambani ke paas mein hai. Okay, that pink diamond which people often allege that ki hacking nahi ho sakti. So phones are costly. iPhones are, probably if you will go for the niche iPhones, they are very costly. Yes, it is very much secure. Okay, it is very friendly, particularly if you are using all the Apple product. But, and they are talking about sustainability. The sustainability in this case is, they are not giving the charges. The adapter, okay, they are giving the wire only. But to make such iPhone, a children as young as 8-year-old, as young as between 8 to 14, they work in the mines in DRC, which is Democratic Republic of Congo. Only where they can get the rare earth metals, and they use it for the making of different electronic components. Not only iPhone, but there are many things, particularly cars also. So this was the rule in back then from 1947 to 1990, where the only emphasis was on the growth. That's why we often talk about Hindu rate of growth. ये Hindu rate of growth वाला सबको concept पता है ना? Growing at the rate of 3.7 only.
3%,
growing at the rate of 3%.
3 to 3.7% but for the 40-50 years. On the contrary, many countries were developing to a significant stage. So these countries were particularly East Asian countries. There was a very famous movie called Parasite. Have you seen that? Anyone of you? Parasite. It is a Korean movie. Though it is the only one of the few movies, foreign movies, which got the mainstream Oscar. So that's why it is very important, Parasite. So even now when you will see the status of the Korea, we know about that Korea is a very developed country. But there is a very much class divide. A high level of inequality between the ruler, between the elite class and the serving working class. This inequality is very high. The same goes with the China too, where they are the concept of the black jails. Nearly everywhere, in Vietnam, in any East Asian country you can take, there is a high level of income divide. So nobody was talking about the income divide. Nobody was talking about inequality. And growth was taking place to the exclusion of a significant number of people. So again, in rhetoric we can say, or historically we can say that Amartya Sen and Mahbub Ali tried to address this problem by the method of HDI, which focused on not sustainable development. This is the difference, na? These are the factors which they focused upon. Education, inequality, and health. Now, so this went on for a significant amount of time. But again, there were limitations of HDI, particularly to the rising level of inequality, manifested by the rise in Gini coefficient and increasing number of the poor. So to address this, in place of Millennium Development Goals, MDG, they came the concept of SDG. So we see that from 1947, that post-war era, there was a transition. The first transition was HDI, which focused upon equality-centric approach. Okay, so this focused upon gross GDP in a nuanced manner for the well-being and capability of the individuals. So it was largely a human-centric approach with these three parameters. Now, if we talk about SDGs, so they are nearly how much SDGs? 17 SDGs, which is further divided into
169 targets.
and 232 indicators. Okay, across through various dimensions. So how and in what context these HDGs and HD human development and SDGs are related? What is the answer? How they are related with each other? Do you have any kind of explanation for this?
So there is sustainable development is talking about the wholesome development, including all the nature, human life, everything. So when the environment and other areas is good, then it can enter reflecting the human development, like better standard of living, kind of thing.
Okay, so say probably if we talk about clean energy,
Yes, human development is a subset of sustainable development.
or can't we say that sustainable development is SDGs are subset of human development,
Yeah,
Both-
or vice versa is true?
Yes.
Now you got the context.
Chicken cake.
So you see, now you cannot justify, probably, again going back to the same problem. Say suppose if you have to focus upon, what should we do? Are we supposed to focus on the economic growth, or are we supposed to focus on the human development? I think that in previous classes I have discussed the issue, which you may remember. What was the context? What was the conclusion of that context? That discussion? Okay, so we have discussed that from 1947 to 1990s India, okay, the focus was upon the development,
poverty eradication,
equitable development, because largely it was guided by the premise of
Article 39 was the
it was largely developed by the premise of socialism. What is the difference between socialism and communism?
in communism. It's all state-led. There is no concept of property.
Private property. Why online people can participate? Okay, what is the difference between communism and socialism?
So it's a socialism is a state-led development. The state-led.
And communism is a state-led development too.
But actually, communism, there shouldn't be any government. But
In communism,
the real communism, what according to Karl Marx, there shouldn't be any government. All the property should be a common.
okay, so yes, we can agree with this. See, basically, the gradual development in socialism, the move is to move towards the stateless society, where everything will belong to the community. In communism, the focus is upon, revolution, throw away of the state, that they will not be state. But again, it is a party which drives everything. So communism is nothing but a state-led capitalism. In socialism, there is a scope of private property too, but the ultimate aim is move towards the communism in a gradual transformational way, not in a revolutionary way. For example, what Naxalite wanted in India? To throw away the government. What they are ultimately doing? Extorting government officials. It is okay. So this is the difference only. They are extorting the government official in the guise of being equity to everyone around. But that is only a limited view, if we can see it. Initially, Naxalism developed because of the lack of development, and now Naxalites are anti-development. Okay, so this is again a kind of paradox. Okay, so in this case, you see from 1947 to 1990, when everything was state controlled, What was the issue of poverty? What was the issue of inequality? Everybody was poor. From 1971 to 1980s, the poverty rate only increased in place of decreasing. Even after Green Revolution, there was mass migration. Those people who had land, but now they cannot till it because of the increasing input cost in agriculture, started migrating towards the urban cities. Okay, and that's why the urbanization is so haphazard in India. It hasn't developed in an organic way. Rather, it has developed in a haphazard way. So they started migrating towards the city. The growth rate was only 3.7%. State never had any resources for investing in the public, investing in the poor or for the poor. So post 1990s, when states started attracting for FDIs or investment, these investments were further translated for the development of the society by the means of MG Nirja, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. Previously,
They come after 2005.
which one?
MG Nirja.
And Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan?
It's after 86 Amendment Act of 2000.
I think both the years are after 1990s. That we can agree upon. After the LPG era. Okay, say for example PMGSY, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana.
But there was 1990s and 2000. Up to that, there was a very significant era which was going on.
Everything that started, eventually it started. Say from midday meals to Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana is another of the poverty alleviation scheme.
1990s was the new liberal era. In 2000, after 2000, we started with the welfare schemes and all.
No. We cannot directly say that, we haven't done anything in.
Yes, sir. Actually, only in 76 we started integrated development.
See, that was a welfare era, but welfare was not translating to the lowest upon. Because the state never had the resources. See, ICDS was there, PMGSY was Swaraj Gramin Swarajgar Yojana, Indira Awas was there, everything was there. But whether the state had the fund or not, that is the main question. So largely the PSUs were not functioning properly. PSUs, if you can understand, the PSUs and the banks were largely under the issue of NPA. The government was supporting them. So we can blame the PSUs, we can blame the banks, we can blame the government. As against this, there are 34 companies which are PSU, and they are in Fortune 500 companies, and these PSUs are of the Chinese government. So can we say that PSUs are not functioning properly? The problem is that growth was not there. And if there will not be any growth, how will you invest in the humans? The Scandinavian countries, the Western countries, they are considered as an epitome of capitalism. Yet when we go to these places, you will see that a significant number of state benefit in the form of unemployment wages is also given to these given in these countries. In France, it is as high as 2,400 euros. Unemployment wages.
UBI.
Not UBI. See, UBI would be different, completely different altogether. We are talking about unemployment wages. So many Indians go to the country like Switzerland and Scandinavian countries where they do the PhD and take the wages of 2,400 euros per month. Okay, unemployed ही खुश है भाई, ठीक है. So you see that these countries are highly. What is Telegram? Harsha? So these countries are very highly capitalistic country, yet they are giving the benefits to and see the social welfare scheme from old age home to the education, everything is free. Is this free in India? No. So the problem was that what should be the nature of growth? Now to address this question, Millennium Development and Sustainable Development issue came. For example, if we talk about the case study of India, where there is a focus on SDG 7, affordable and clean energy. This is SDG 7,
Yes.
affordable and clean energy. What is the scope of affordable and clean energy in India?
Solar is famous.
And we are doing a lot of things. But what it is translating? Don't you think that it is translating in jobs related to the renewable energy? According to Deloitte, according to Deloitte company, there is a data according to which the sector of renewable energy by 2033 will be of $50 billion. And it will generate nearly 3,30,000 employment every year. So there is growth as well as there is focus on SDGs, which is also translating into the human development. If we talk about another case study of Rwanda, in Rwanda there was focus on quality education, which is SDG number 4. So if there will be quality education, it will also translate into the SDG number 1, which is no poverty. Okay, as well as SDG number 5, which is gender equality. So by improving access to education for all, we are improving the life as well as the national income of a country. नहीं जेनरिक है ना? हाँ, बस एग्जाम्पल याद कर लीजिएगा, मुझे पता था आज की क्लास बहुत ज्यादा जेनरिक होने वाली है. ठीक है. See, basically when we decided that we will take this class, so there was a very interesting article, which was an article related to that we are supposed to change the terms of reference of 16th Financial Commission, and we have to accommodate the SDGs in resource allocation. This was important article. But when we
their own 9 SDGs, get some of these SDGs.
see, the issue is that we are not, distributing the resources as in financial commission as per the climate change or SDG needs. We are this is not a configuration in SDG. Last year there was the issue related with the environment, but we are not considering the SDGs in total scenario. So there was this related article. But as we searched through the topic, okay, there was hardly any article in it. Okay, so because it is a developing news, and more importantly, because this will be a 30th year of SDGs, UNHDI, so that's why this topic is important related to SDI. And largely the facts you will get in the editorial, but what is not mentioned there, I am trying to teach you that. So, and there's another case study of Brazil, where SDG 3, good health and well-being, supported SDG 10, reduced inequality. Now, what are we talking about? Yes, but it is not properly constrained herself configured. That's why we are discussing this. And maybe in times to come, there will be resource allocation for the 16th Finance Commission. Then this article will be completed. Right now, it is only in talks.
The reference is not included is SDG based allocation.
It is, in news that it will be included, but right now there is no confirmation over it. Okay. So you see that all these SDGs, SDGs is related with the Human Development Index. Now, so you see, what are the factors of the Human Development Index? कौन-कौन से factors हैं?
Standard of living, health education,
And GNI, gross national income,
gross national income.
standard of living, mean year of schooling, and life expectancies. And all these are related with, in one form or other, with the SDGs. So suppose if we are asked that what is the relation between SDGs and, so we are clear about that. Now, what are the challenges in HDI? And because of that, which we are focusing more upon SDGs. Or is there any other alternative means, methods of measuring human development? Even with it, HDI may hide inequalities, education, and standard of living. Don't you think? Even with the figures, these parameters, HDI may hide, which is it is hiding. The mean of school of education is there, but what is the quality of education? Which is SDGs, but not HDI. So what is the quality of education? In all the income, health and everything, it can hide. That's why HDG can be a better measure which forces us to think in terms of that it should be included in terms of reference because of the changing realities. Second, do you think HDI measures environmental sustainability? And what is the scope of climate-induced poverty? And because of which reduce inequality. So why this case there should be that it should be included as a terms of reference. Similarly, that HDI is very simple in its choices of component. On the other hand, SDGs has 232 indicators. It's a complex one, as per the developing and changing society. So all these factors forces us to think and forces the government in a way that the resource allocation between the different states includes this part. Okay. Now, so have you written all these case studies of Brazil, Rwanda and India? You can just mention it, huh? आप खुद ही बताओ, आज तक मैंने जितनी बड़ा चीजें पढ़ाई उसमें कितनी चीजें मिली है आपको? हाँ? ये लिख लेना अगर लिखना हो तो. Okay, so now HDI, so SDG is an important parameter as it focuses upon interconnectedness in life, which is very important. And last year, if we say that I believe in part 4, there was a mention of environmental related issues, climate change. But the terms of reference should be included in SDGs. I know today class is boring and it is a rhetorical, so I'm being hysterical in that context. Okay, so I will leave the because largely I won't be telling you about the what are the goals, 169 goals. So you have to read that from ED. Okay, so if you want to ask any other question, then you can ask. No. If anything, if related with any of the field, not related directly to this AD, in the previous classes, or any doubt you are facing as of now.
No, sir. So actually, regarding the last AD class,
Mhm.
we discussed about the proportionality involved.
Mhm.
So there is two principles, just in Bellam and just in.
Mhm.
In fact, both also there is a word called this proportionality.
No, but the meaning of these words changes, na?
What is the difference in this? I thought of asking you that. What is the difference of proportionality in just in Bellam?
Okay, so there is this question by Balaji that in the last class, what is the difference between just as Bellam, and in the meaning of proportionality? See, in the second case, the proportionality include that there should be pragmatism in the issue of violences. So, for the first case, there is a justification for violence or attack on Al-Shifa hospital.
Little bit case.
Huh?
Second is okay, but the first what you said just in Bello is okay.
Just at Bellam, huh?
That for just as Bello.
Hmm.
And what is that proportionality actually means?
So in this case, the proportionality means the dimension there should be minimization of the conflict or minimization of the collateral damage. Okay, so your every action in acts of omission and commission should be reduced to minimization of collateral damage.
So when there is a minimum, then we can go for the.
So these are the choices that in which the threats can be minimized. So largely the focus was upon that only. Now, you see that there is a case which is very important in this context, and probably for the student of public administration, political science, and sociology, we can try to figure out in this way. How many of you know about community development program? 1950s. What was the issue in the community development program?
The participation of the people was not there, and highly centralized bureaucratic way of implementation was there.
So, yes, top-down approach, or we can say ivory tower approach. So the issue is that it was one of the largest program which was ever undertaken to develop the community in such a way that it increased and infused a lot of interest. Many people came and tried to study this because this would transform the nature of the village. But the CDP, as it happened in a way that those person who was in the power, okay, a block development officer or anybody who was in the power, the village only developed when the caste of the person and that of the officer was same.
Sir, CDP and NHRM are the same, National Rural Livelihood Mission.
No. They are 50 years apart. Okay. So CDP was the first transformation. I'm talking about why it is related. So you see that caste and identity of an officer was a very important factor in this development. This is what we call elite capture. Now, this showed us that state is not universal in nature. Okay. Previously, it was believed that state is universal in nature. This is what Hegel said, no? That state is the gods on this. State is march of the god on this earth. So, from that to 1990s, everybody believed that, or it was in principle believed that state was much of the nature on the earth. So, but there were many incidences in which say that state cannot play a universalistic part. Okay, so if we talk about finance commission is just doing that right now. It is devolving the responsibility to the state, but it's state devolving the responsibility to the last mile, which is Gram Sabha and Gram Panchayat in this case, because they are the one who are facing the burden of the climate change. Are you getting my point? So, if we talk about sustainable development goals, so if the issue of the climate change is not reaching to the last mile, which is Gram Sabha, then the issue of the climate change will, or SDGs will remain unsolved. So this was I will come back to this topic, let the news develop. But right now there is no news. Right now the only news which is of any importance that there is 30 years of SDI and what is the linkage between HDI and SDGs. So when asked, just mention the interlinkage of SDGs with that of SDI. Otherwise, largely this topic is bogus. Okay. So even I understand that. March of the God, yes, walking God, March of the God. This topic is literally bogus topic. Okay, sometimes it may happen.
Sir, you teach world history?
No.
Sociology?
Yes. I teach everything, particularly because I teach essay, so most of the things are interrelated in that way. See, essay is what? Essay is about creating the narrative. Yesterday night, I was writing a model answer on the 2018 paper, and there was a topic that managing the India's border. I think there was some issue topic like that. Okay, so I started writing it, and after a while I felt that it is a very dry topic. So how to make it interesting?
Sir, how you write essay means, but how you dig deep in the essay means?
No, I never dig deep. I never dig deep. So the best part about essay writing is that how you are forcing the examiner to read it. So probably I will not suggest you to go and write everything which is related with the current affair. Okay, so what I would suggest you, that's why I told you, okay, if I'm writing this, because just when it will be public, then read it once, okay, and you will realize that, okay, maybe in the next class I will show it to you. Okay, okay, that even in such boring topic, how to create the interest of the examiner. So you see, you just don't write directly, write about how that chessboard of India and China, how the history of, so everything from colonialism to the right now challenges, include everything, but in a very generic way. The main purpose of the essay writing is to force the examiner to read it. And if you will just induce the current affair which is of no relevance, nobody will read it. Write the current affairs, but in such a way that it will be interesting. Maybe in the next class, I will give you handouts. And those who are present online, I will just send them the mail. Okay. And it will be public once in a while because, we are trying to write the model answers from 2013 to 2023 of all the papers. So,
only for the essays?
No, for everything.
Okay.
Okay. So, but in this case, my main focus is to make the topic interesting. Okay. So, for the first time, I've been using. Yes, I've seen your paper. Okay, just read the model answers. Once it is out, then you will understand the narrative. And in fact, the bird chicken, so once I was not finding anything, so I started with the geoeconomics and geopolitics was the topic. So I started with this chicken and egg, this wala problem. What came first, geoeconomics or geopolitics? Just think about it, what came first? See, largely the colonial policy was derived because of the economics, which resulted into geopolitics. And it was the geopolitics which resulted in the geoeconomics, because everybody wanted to have more and more political structure.
But it was like Marx economic structure and all these are superstructures.
Just don't complicate things. Okay, just keep it simple.
Just like no beginning and no end.
No beginning. See, and there was only, as you asked me, because I was just reading it. So as you asked me, there was never any intergenum between geopolitics and geoeconomics, except for 15 years. So this is the part about world history, and because I read it, I know it, very few people know about it. The only time there was a differentiation between geoeconomics and geopolitics was the age of 1946 to 1962. Where there was no talking terms between USA and USSR. Or largely we can say NATO and USSR. These countries were not doing the trades also. Okay, so Kennedy realized that we cannot sustain in that way. That's why Kennedy is considered as one of the greats in the USA. Kennedy realized that we cannot sustain in this way. So after the Cuban Missile Crisis, he opened the channel for diplomacy.
So why was it?
बहुत पागल है यार उसमें ठीक है. See, there was no particular region. Maybe there could have been some regions which we will come to know about, but maybe in another 100 years. So right now it is not in the public. Somebody came, somebody thought he was not doing work, so he shot him. So there is no particular region, and particularly his opinion related with the segregation policy. That was another important factor. It was an individual idiosyncrasy rather than something of a established order.
Sir, in India, Khalistan is supported by which faction? Do BJP support? Do Congress support?
In India, Khalistan is supported by no faction. In India, nobody supports it. It is only the Sikhs of Canada. You see that, probably if you try to understand society, then you will realize one important thing. And from those who are from Hindi belt, I will try to give you a metaphor, probably which will help in clearing this thing. How many of you do watch the movies of Karan Johar? Have you ever watched it? Kabhi Khushi, Kabhi Gum. है ना? And और कौन सी मूवी है भाई करण जौहर की? Because I'm not much into Hindi movies, so that's why I do.
Student of the year.
ऐसी मूवी का नाम लेना छोड़ दो, हवा टाइट होगी मेंस में. Okay, see, just so the point is, you see that if you will watch the movie Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum or whatever is the movie of the Karan Johar, then you will realize that it is a culture which is very distinct from the culture that we see. It is not the normal culture. Even if we know somebody who is very rich, this is not the culture that they follow. This is culture of maybe, and it can be the culture of particularly some NRI. And that's why NRI watch it. It is not a maybe out of that thing it is hit, people don't have anything to do. That's why it becomes hit. And this is, see that this is that since the time of the democratization of the content, the movies are failing. Okay, all the major movies are failing. Okay, because the content has been democratized. People are showing what they are feeling there in life. That's why series like Panchayat is becoming a very hit series. Panchayat or the series of TVF, because this is what we feel, this is what we see, which is unlike the case of Karan Johar. The point being that, people appreciate the thing when they are not living that thing. In case of Punjab, those people who have migrated from India still carrying that identity. You see, only after the influx of this Khalistan movement, the population of Canada grew. So you see that the Khalistan or the movement is so strong in Canada only because these people have only one generation migration. And these are the old people. Those people who have migrated to London or the Britain, they have integrated into society, the British society so much that they are not talking about Khalistan. Those people who have migrated to United States after 1990s are talking about India. And these peoples are called internet Hindus because largely they are sitting on the Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and talking about pride in Hindu culture. This is the same thing which is not happening in UK with UK Hindus. When there was abrogation of Article 370, the people of US supported, the Hindu people of US supported India. On the other hand, there was no context and there was no realization or assertion by the Hindus of UK. Because this is their fourth generation. They have migrated it there in 1947 itself. And they have become the part of the society. That's why you will see that the Bangladesh people and the Pakistani who have migrated in later years, they are carrying their identity, which is not the case with the Hindus in United Kingdom. So the Sikhs of UK who have long migrated are not supporting Khalistan. The Sikhs of India who are facing the problems are not supporting Khalistan movement. Those people who are creating an image. You see, there is this very famous author, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. How many of you know about him? Gabriel Garcia Marquez. He was a Nobel laureate. And there are some very quite famous book of him. So he write basically on a particular genre of book called magical realism. And he is a Spanish, but he lives in Colombia. So in his opinion, he always says that the magical realism could have only developed in South America because we are carrying the history as well as the poverty. In history, we can be, take pride. But in poverty, we want to escape the situation. So we resort to the history. So this is the case with the Khalistanis. Right now, they migrated from India when India was violent. So they are taking pride in their history to escape the current situation. Most of the people are working as a driver. Okay, so there is a poverty. Yes, you wanted to ask something?
One more question. Sir, jab nature was that in Canada, we said nothing was in our hand. And when we paid in our, there was a failed attempt of
Pannu. See, diplomacy, there is a very famous quote. I'm just forgetting the name. I think this quote is by Ford himself. This quote is that diplomacy is the art of smiling while carrying the rod in your hand. Okay, so this is how diplomacy works. This is how diplomacy functions. In case of Canada, there was clear-cut line which directly implicated the Indian government. That the Indian government has done it. In case of United States, it was not direct implication.
They have kept
Oh no! They said that Indian government is not involved. Somebody who works for the Indian government is involved. Mr. CC. So this is a different thing altogether. He can be involved in his personal capacity out of some vengeance. But did he directly involved or implicated the Indian government?
There are talks going on between.
See, that is hidden between the channels. We cannot take direct, issue out of it. What is happening behind the channels is not our concern. Right now, in case of Canada, they said that the Indian government was involved. Right now, they are not asserting something like that. So this was the issue. That's why Khalistani movement is very popular in Canada. The prices of the land is very high in Punjab. It is more costlier than California. The Punjab government never gives any kind of subsidy on the electricity or no subsidy for the industrialization also. What is the phases of economic development? What is the cycle of economic development? See, initially your job is to translate one resource into another, and that resource will further be translated into some other kind of resources. In this case, the primary sector, which was the sector of agriculture, needed to transform into some secondary sectors. And that sector would have forced someone to think for the tertiary sector. In case of Punjab, there was stagnation. Why? Because people were so much, assertive of their culture, or they were indulged in their culture that they don't want to change it. Agriculture. Okay, so largely agriculture became their mainstream, their lifeline. They never wanted to change to the industrialization. Barring the belts of Ludhiana and Jalandhar, nearly all of the Punjab is only behind the agriculture. On the contrary, Haryana changed it. Resultantly, Chittaway. Samajhte hain Chittaway?
Smack.
Yes, cocaine, smack. What will happen when you do have the youth and they are not being involved in any kind of constructive activities, particularly after the mechanization of agricultural field? What they will do? They are earning the money. At that time, they were earning very hardcore amount of money. Okay, and it was not being utilized anywhere. Resultantly, terrorism. Resultantly, drugs. And resultantly, harnessing. Okay, so these are the consequences of not utilizing the youth's energy of youths. Okay, harnessing, drugs, and terrorism. Honey Singh is a rapper. He's an aberration to the industry of music. And Badshah too. And for that matter, anybody who comes. He's a rapper.
There is a term in capitalism, it's called one-dimensional man. He used to follow things.
No, it is Honey Singh not the example of one-dimensional man. Maybe we can consider him as an innovator for his time because he initiated the trend first. One-dimensional man is only thinks about in one dimension and he is alienated from everything.
Only thinking about this.
So this is the case. You see, that's why the youth we have need to involve and indulge in something. Okay, and probably SDG will try to help that out. Okay, on that concluding note. Okay.